Hello, I'm Joel Baird, the General Manager of Missoula Community Access Television, inviting you to learn more about City Council elections this fall of 2023. To that end, I've invited all 15 candidates for City Council wards, there are 6 of them, to have a short interview in our studio, which, unlike some of the larger candidate forums, will afford them an opportunity to respond to the same set of 4 questions in a smaller, more intimate environment. And to that end, a candidate for Ward 3 is here, Sam Kulla. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thanks for having me, Joel. This is pretty exciting to be here at MCAT.
Nice, and I understand you were an MCAT user back in the day.
I've been checking out gear. Been checking out gear from MCAT for longer than I should admit.
Right,
Yeah.
and as you know, all the candidates are being asked these same questions, and I really only mean them to be a launching off point for whatever you would like to say, about your campaign. And the first of these standard questions is, what motivated you to seek this office?
Yeah, that's a really important question. So the thing that originally motivated me to seek this office was people asking me to. One of the things that I do a lot in my spare time, if I have the time, which I don't have a lot of time now since I've been running, is I go and sit at the cafes. I like to sit at Bernice's Bakery.
Oh, yeah.
And I sit there with my daughter. She's 4. We get a little bag of bird seed and we feed the birds, And people come and chat at you about everything. Sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're strangers. And I noticed a recurring theme is that several people 2 years ago kept suggesting to me that I run for some sort of public office. And at first, I kind of laughed it off because I thought, oh, you're just making a joke about my name rhyming with Missoula, Kulla for Missoula.
Sam Kulla for Missoula, I got it.
And the more people asked about me, the more I thought, that doesn't sound too bad. I feel like I do have what it takes to grasp the issues, really connect with people. I'm an educator, so I work with helping students actualize their goals and dreams, which is a lot like politics when you're representing somebody. Sure. You're going to help your constituents realize their goals to the greatest of your ability. Right. So 2 years ago, I did kind of a publicity stunt write-in campaign for mayor, which was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of people. It wasn't what I would call a legitimate campaign. At this point, I'm running a real city council campaign in Ward 3 for the seat where I live, and it's going great so far.
Oh, great. So, yeah. And I know there'll be a question about what you learned on the campaign later. As to, let's say that dream realized, you're elected, what are the top 3 things that you would like to accomplish or pay attention to, be a part of changing, implementing, et cetera?
For sure. So the number one issue that I hope everybody's answering the same right now is housing. Because that is,
come up a lot.
It's really the most critical, urgent issue that we have going on in Missoula. The housing issue, you can look at it from a lot of different angles depending on who you are and like what your needs and what your life is like. For some people, housing means, they want to be able to pay their property taxes and stay in their homes. That's an important housing issue. For other people, it means something totally different, like they just need a roof over their heads. And then in the middle, we have people, who are renting homes, and they want to make sure they can stay living where they're living while prices go up and wages don't really keep pace. So the housing issue is really fascinating to me because of how many other things it ties into. And I also see it as an opportunity to really bring everybody from our community together to solve it, because if we solve it for everybody, that's kind of the goal. And I think we can.
Great.
Yeah.
2 more priorities.
Right, 2 more priorities. Obviously, as an environmentalist, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I'm a pretty conservation-minded person. I've spent a lot of my professional life working in and for the outdoors, everything from whitewater river guiding to teaching wilderness medicine. I worked for a lot of years in renewable energy in the wind industry. I've worked in Clean Water Act enforcement. And now one of the things I do in addition to teaching Earth and Natural Sciences online is I work with the University of Washington's School of Oceanography, assisting with ocean and climate research. So, sustainability and making our city, as responsive to the demands of the changes in the climate that we're experiencing as we can, that's very important to me. A lot of the things we can do with zoning, a lot of the things we can do with housing, a lot of the things we can do in every area have a corollary that ties in to an environmental aspect. And so that's my number 2 big issue. My number 3 issue is definitely community safety. And while I do, support the police, fire department, and EMS, I used to work as an EMT. I feel like there's some other sides to this that need a little boost as well. When we're looking at the housing crisis and people living outdoors, one of the biggest community safety issues that comes to mind is making sure those folks who live outside are safe and have the support they need so that they're okay. Because we take care of each other here in Missoula. So that looks like mental health and addiction services. That looks like expanding and improving our crisis intervention and other sort of soft skills teams that respond when traditional law enforcement's not always the most appropriate tool for the job. So I see that we need to develop all these together to make sure that everyone in our community, across the income spectrum, is safe and feels like they're comfortable and okay living in Missoula.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like your campaign trail started way back when, but would you like to share with people some of the things you learned from interacting with potential voters and so on?
Yeah, and that's a really important question because all of us, when we sit at home and we think about the world, we have a model of what we think is important based on, our tastes and preferences and our news and the books we've read and the people we know and the conversations we have. And, I started with that, right? And I've been knocking a lot of doors across Ward 3, which is a unique ward in Missoula. All the wards have their own character. And as people answer their doors and they tell me what's important to them, I am constantly humbled and surprised how my mental image of our ward is a little bit different than the people who actually live there. And that's an important thing to grasp when you're campaigning is who actually lives here and what are the real issues. One of the number one issues that people have brought to me as I knock on their doors is this property tax thing.
Oh yeah, scared everyone, didn't it?
It's terrible. And the rebate that people can apply for is not really significant compared to the increased burden and the other factors that are playing into it. One of the most interesting and I feel like really important segments of our Ward 3 population that I'm meeting a lot of these folks is people living on fixed incomes who are getting hit by these property taxes because they live in their, their houses that they worked their whole careers to get and stuff. Yeah. And they're not getting any more money every month. But prices are still going up, not only for their property taxes, but also for just groceries and gas and regular stuff. So that has been a real big eye-opener for me, especially as somebody who, as a renter, I'm not really directly exposed to property taxes. I see those in rent increases, so I don't think about them in the front of my mind as readily. So that's been educational, to say the least.
When you get the bill, it is really long. It includes stuff like junk cars and noxious weeds. In addition to school, it'll have animal control, so on and so forth. I don't know how many people that own property look at them, but sometimes the whole issue can be dizzying, to look at it. And then here at MCAT, when this property tax bill alarm was raised, a number of city and county folks tried to explain it, along with the Department of Revenue that did a deal out at the Hilton Garden Inn. And most times, the longer people watched, the more they started scratching their heads. So that part becomes very difficult. We have heard, in general, candidates talk about the tax system in Montana being antiquated, being based on a resource extraction economy or lumber or paper mills and such. And that as those major industries left, the tax code still addresses them as shouldering the burden of vital services. But the economy, in the opinion of others, had changed to tourism and technology. And they're thinking, how can we move off of what we used to share to this new thing? And it seemed to be quite a theme.
And you're exactly right. You nailed it with those points there. The explainers that came out in the wake of these tax increases, I watched several, and they're great. And much kudos, especially to county commissioners
Josh Schlotnick tried very hard.
He's got his podcast, Tip of the Spear, I think it's called, which he did a real good episode on it. But you got to take notes and pay attention to really grasp it.
Like what's going on?
But the big thing that you touch on, here, is the fact that this thing was set up, our property tax capture structure was set up by square footage, right, for a lot of big places. And what were the big places that Missoula had and doesn't have anymore? That's mills, right? So those are gone. we still have a demand for money coming in, and so the burden's shifted to residential people.
Yeah.
When we look at ways that we can start to recapture, some of the, the more appropriate funding and take the weight off people's shoulders, I'm super interested in doing things that can capture some of our tourist revenue, within the bounds of what's legal in the state right now, and see what we can do, because we have a huge tourist economy, a huge service economy, and we don't want to diminish or dissuade any of that, but we can definitely have the visitors to Missoula pay their fair share of the services that they use while they're here, and there's a lot of ways we can do that.
Yeah. Someone had brought up the idea that you could give a rebate to locals so that if you did a tax, you'd say, oh, well, that's going to hurt the people who live here. Oh, no, you could rebate certain things that weren't.
At this point, everything's on the table.
Right?
Yeah.
And there seems to be a bit of lobbying, too, where different people have said, well, there's nothing we can do except inform the people in the state and get them to address the state legislator to open up things like local option taxes that are now forbidden.
Exactly, and that's the type of thing that I view as one of the unavoidable eventualities should I be elected, is that not only am I going to sit here and attend the meetings and vote within the bounds of the law, I mean, part of representing and advocating for the people of Ward 3 and the people of Missoula is going to be going and challenging some of these things that are restricting us from the things we need to do. Yeah. Like another example where we're going to have to get creative in how we pull it off is pursuing things that are currently forbidden now, like a single-use plastics ban, which would be monumental if we could pull it off, but we're kind of blocked from doing that right now. And so finding ways that we actually can do that is on the agenda for me for sure.
Great. Now, your final question, and you can take it any way you want. What do you want potential voters to know about you?
I want voters to know that I'm accessible and that I want to know what's important to them. Like I said before, I come to this race with my own, set of values and beliefs, right? Which, given no other compass or bearing, obviously I will follow. But I also need to connect with people that are here. And so I invite people to contact me, talk to me, tell me their issues, tell me what they want to see change and how they want Missoula to grow. The inevitability right now is growth. This city is popular for a lot of really good reasons. And as we grow, it's super important that the people who have invested their lives here have a say at the table in how it grows. And so I want people to know that they can come to me and that I will listen to what they have to say and they'll carry those wishes forward when it comes time to make decisions.
Nice. And apropos of that, Scott, have you shown the good people the website? And that website, people can email you through it. And
I've got a contact form on kullaformissoula.com, Kulla for Missoula.com.
Right, he's showing it now.
I've also got an Instagram page that's a lot of fun.
Do mention that.
At Kulla for Missoula. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a link there.
That's Kulla.
Kulla for FOR, Missoula, Missoula.
Yeah.
And so if people want to grab me on Instagram or on the website, there's a contact form, or they can just email me at sam@kullaformissoula.com.
There you go. Well, thanks, Sam, so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Joel.
Appreciate it. And thank you, dear viewer, for taking the time to learn more about City Council elections in the fall of 2023. We hope to get about a dozen of these interviews on our Facebook, YouTube, and of course on our Charter Spectrum Cablecast channel 190. So if you go the full ride with us, you'll also have an opportunity to see a program with Bradley Seaman that we recorded earlier today. Bradley is the election administrator for Missoula County, undertaking the city elections this fall. And he had a lot to say about the integrity of the elections, the reason for primaries, and yours truly brought in a ballot that I got at my home to show you how you would fill that ballot out and get it back to the elections office on time. So until next time, I'm Joel Baird. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.